Good afternoon, everyone. We hope that you're keeping well. This afternoon's webinar session, we will be looking at some of the accelerating learning resources available on the GWARE Support Centre website. These resources have been written in response to the current circumstances surrounding COVID and are purely designed to support you in how you then support your learners with their core literacy and numeracy skills, in or out of the classroom should that happen to you. So my name is Vicky Lees and I'm Supporting Improvement Advisor for Primary Literacy within the GWARE region, and I'll just introduce you to some of my colleagues.
Hi, I'm Joanne Davis. I'm a Foundation Phase SIA working in the Foundation Phase team within GWARE. And alongside me, I've got my colleague, Catherine McNamara. She's an SIA and available to help with those tricky questions. She's got lots of experience in Foundation Phase. And over to Manon.
Good afternoon. Coel Roberts for being backstage this afternoon, making this session possible. We will try our best today to answer as many questions as we can. There is also a frequently asked questions document that will support you to familiarise yourself with these resources. If you have any questions following this session, please feel free to email us at literacyandnumeracy@gwaregogledd.cymru.
This afternoon's webinar is split into sections covering different aspects of the resources. We will introduce each part as we go along, and it is designed this way as it will be uploaded as a pre-recorded link on the GWARE Support Centre so that colleagues can watch back whichever section is relevant to them. You may need to switch your screen to full screen when the presentations show, as they look quite small in normal view. And just a warning, this is our first time doing it, so bear with us. We aren't the BBC, we're budding BBC presenters. Okay, thank you very much.
Good afternoon, everyone. As part of today's webinar, I'd like to introduce the accelerated skills resources that are available to schools on the GWARE Support Centre website. If you're not familiar with the GWARE Support Centre yet, simply go through the ordinary GWARE website, click on the Support Centre, and then these resources are under Teaching and Learning and then Accelerating Skills. All the resources on the Support Centre have been developed by GWARE during and since the lockdown period. There are two parts to the resources that we'll look at today. Teaching and learning strategies is another part that we will present in a later webinar. So if you keep your eye out in the GWARE bulletin, you'll find them in there. Firstly, we have a set of exemplar models to support the teaching and learning of specific isolated literacy and numeracy skills for both Foundation Phase and Key Stage 2. Secondly, there's an evidence review of literacy and numeracy intervention packages that are widely available to access online at the moment. The accelerated skills models aim to help teachers focus on skills that have been lost or lacking whilst learners have been at home. Simple, fun, but focused assessment for learning processes on their return should be used to identify these areas. The accelerated skills models target these by isolating the skills, directly teaching them, and then practicing and reviewing them. They are designed to sit alongside and complement the broader plans that you have in place at the minute, be them blended or distance models, and for as long as the learners need them. Each model isolates language or literacy, maths or numeracy skills, and are designed to stimulate the skills that they may have forgotten over the past few months. This is done mainly through talking and reading, discussion and collaboration, with the emphasis very much on enjoyment. IT packages currently available through Hub feature heavily in each model and allow this interaction to happen even if the children are at home. But there are two things that we really need to emphasise at this point. Firstly, these are examples only of what is possible to create. They need to be adjusted and amended to suit precisely what your learners need at the moment, and are very much based on your initial formative assessments as the children come back into school. Secondly, with the situation of partial school closures becoming more of an everyday reality, it's important to remember that these models show how teaching and learning can be delivered from both school and from home. So in other words, you could deliver these with your children in class full time, as the activities can be done partly under your guidance and partly independently. This also means that they can be delivered remotely as blended learning models, using the IT packages to make this possible. A tip here would be to make sure that your learners know how to use all of the IT packages whilst they're with you in school. The learning cycle of the models is based on the EEF, or the Education Endowment Foundation model of home learning approaches. The EEF is an independent charity established in 2011 to improve the educational attainment of the poorest pupils in school. They aim to support teachers and senior leaders by providing evidence-based resources designed to improve practice and boost learning. The intention of the models is for the teacher to teach the skill in school initially. So later on, you'll see the home or school headings. And to teach these as a direct learning session, then reinforce it with subsequent developmental activities at home to complete the learning cycle. Obviously, these sections are flexible and could be delivered in school or at home by the learners in isolation or lockdown. The cycle begins with activating prior knowledge. Once you've identified a skill that you think some or all of your learners need a boost with, you need to work out what they already know or can do and to what level they can apply it at the moment. Try using simple AFL strategies such as targeted questions, quick number or word games, etc., and then base any subsequent learning from there. The next step is explanation. Teaching pupils specific strategies in small steps, not too much in one go, and helping the child work out how and when to use them through simple activities. The next step is to practice, helping pupils practice these skills, repeating them to develop their independence, which is something that may also have been lost during their time at home. The next step is to help the pupils reflect on what they have learned, either after they've completed each activity or when they return to school or when they share their work with you online. And then the final step is to review. Go back to the beginning and think about where their skill level is now and what they need to do next. You may need to repeat the cycle again by amending or increasing the challenge of the activities, or you may be able to move on to another area. Here we can see the kind of literacy and numeracy accelerated skills models available. Remember that this is not an exhaustive list, but should you identify something else your learners need, then it should be possible to amend one of these models to suit their needs using these as a guide. The progress of each learner will be different, but at least you will know that the process you are using is based on solid research into teaching and learning strategies. As you can see, this is an example of one of the models that's available. We've chosen this one as it blends numeracy and literacy skills in terms of oracy underpinning the development of the numeracy in this one. You will see that you have the skill area, the focus isolated skills, the target audience, which remember is just a guide so can easily be amended, and then you have the audio clip, which outlines the key principles of the models and makes it easier for you to share again with other colleagues. And then finally, a synopsis of these principles in writing. Each model includes both online and offline activities, and you can see them here in green and purple. It also has home and school teaching and learning, and web links and various embedded resources. All activities are flexible and adaptable, both for full-time school or home-based learners. So, for example, if you look at the first section, activating prior knowledge, the model suggests the teacher hold an informal discussion session with a group of learners about a picture, asking different kind of questions to formatively assess how the children answer and their knowledge and understanding at this point in time. Now, if the learners are at home, this would be trickier, but there are ways to adapt. If your school is happy to live stream, then that could be done in almost the same way. But please remember to refer to the latest Welsh Government guidelines on this. But if not, You could just rethink it slightly and do it in a few different ways. You can make it as a quick and easy to use online forms via Hub, so children submit their answers to you. You could make it into a mind mapping activity where children answer your questions from either a pre-recorded video or a prompt sheet and then send in their responses. Or just run it as a warm-up activity for the children to do with family members if that works for them. The most important thing is that the children return to using the correct vocabulary or asking and answering questions effectively and are practicing this systematically through the follow-up activities. In this example, looking at positional vocabulary, the picture choice is up to you. So you can choose one that suits your wider topic or theme to be the stimulus, and that way make it blend into your wider learning. So if you were reading a class novel, for example, or a short story, use a picture related to that. Wherever possible, the models try to get children moving, interacting, and outside. This is so important for the well-being of our learners, and you'll see this throughout this model. There is a reliance on IT, but this doesn't mean it has to only be done from home. The IT activities and outdoor activities could be done in school just as well, allowing children to socially distance if they need to and collaborate at the same time. Some activities are designed to reinforce and practice specific skills, so they don't all always need to be done. It's best to choose the ones that suit each learner and their situation the best. If you do use commercial reading interventions or numeracy interventions such as SAFMEDs in your school, these kind of activities will complement them well. If you're not familiar with SAFMEDs or many other interventions, then we'll be talking about them later. The final activity on this model is the learner making a treasure map / orienteering map / obstacle course, anything involving the skills they have developed. This is vital as it enables the learner to use these skills alongside so many other skills in a wider context and across the curriculum. And the models are in Word format, so you can easily edit them. If you'd like to explore further resources that may support some of these activities, then there are links to the Key Stage 2 Google Classroom, where you will find all sorts of individual resources and web links to support each topic area. The unique Google Classroom code can be found at the bottom of each model. Each model also includes links to videos that you as a school may want to send on to parents to offer support and guidance for distance learning when their children are at home. These are very quick and easy to follow clips that can be watched on a mobile phone anytime, anywhere. Hello, so I'm sorry if that video stopped working, but at least you got a little bit of a snippet at the beginning of what is available for you if you wanted to share a video like that with your parents. So those were the models from a Key Stage 2 perspective. Remember, if you have any questions, we're here. You feel free to put them in the comments here now on the webinar, or you can always email us on literacyandnumeracy@gwergodgleth.cymru, and we'll get back to you as soon as we can. The other alternative is, remember, that the frequently asked question sheets will be loaded up onto the support centre as well, along with this webinar, so you can watch it back at your leisure if you really want to, whenever you feel free. So over to the foundation phase now with my colleague Jo.
Hi, thanks Vicky. Just to let you know, if you do want to get in touch for our foundation phase colleagues out there, if you do use the Literacy and Numeracy @gwergodgleth email address, they will pass it on to ourselves. Or there's Kath and I, Joanne Davis @gwergodgleth.cymru and Catherine McNamara @gwergodgleth.cymru also. But if you want to use the Literacy and Numeracy email address, that it'll be passed on straight to us. And now, without further ado, here is our adapted model for the foundation phase, accelerating skills. The foundation phase accelerating skills model. The Education Endowment Foundation model has been adapted to the foundation phase Welsh curriculum. The Education Endowment Foundation model is based upon the English curriculum, where there is Early Years Foundation Stage and Key Stage 1. As we know, Key Stage 1 looks and is very different to Years 1 and 2 in Wales. There are some similarities between Early Years Foundation Stage and Welsh nursery and reception classes, but the main difference is that Early Years Foundation Stage is child-led, and in Wales Foundation phase there is a balance between adult and child-led learning. The learning guidance from Welsh Government in July supports the pedagogy of foundation phase is not lost during the current situation. Here are two important quotes we have taken from the latest guidance. Young learners are at a critical stage of cognitive development, and they should be fully supported in this development given the implications for later learning. And secondly, the ethos, approach and pedagogy of the foundation phase remain critical and can be applied to all learners in the early years and Key Stage 2. Therefore, our model we have adapted supports isolating specific skills that pupils need to access the rest of their learning, and the examples given are within holistic learning experiences following foundation phase pedagogy. Foundation phase children need lots of repetition to practice those skills in meaningful contexts to gain independent mastery of those skills. It is important that those skills are not bypassed before higher order skills can be learnt. These key skills are the building blocks for future learning. As we know, with the youngest learners, we are developing their cognitive ability. Young learners need concrete learning experiences in the beginning, and as a child develops their cognitive ability, we support them moving from the concrete to more abstract learning. So the model requires teaching specific skills at directed focus tasks, and then lots of opportunities to practice and consolidate at enhanced continuous provision in school and/or at home, or whatever the current situation requires. At this time of year in particular, there will be lots of observations taking place in foundation phase, especially this year, identifying children's needs and abilities. It is crucial to differentiate the provision and adult interactions to meet the needs of all children. If there is a developmental delay, or at this time of year after lockdown, a delay with their disposition for learning, for example, cognitive and physical development, teachers must plan support and intervention with appropriate resources and supporting adults to target those skills. Therefore, observation feeds the class planning. Focus tasks indoors and outdoors are taught in school or at home. If at home, they need to be able to access rich learning experiences, So consider what resources the children have at home to learn and practice those skills successfully, either providing resource packs to be sent home or using everyday household objects. Practitioners need to model the skill to be developed if children are at home, and parents need instructional videos and guidance to ensure progression in learning. The model has been developed to promote independent learning skills. It may be the case that some children have lost their independent skills or have none, where there may have been no access to nursery or playgroups. They will need adult support to reboot these skills. The level of skills needs to be differentiated and the context may be changed. The sections to the model are flexible and sit within the blended learning model, where sections can be delivered at home, at school, or just at home. Following the blended learning model, the highlighted yellow sections are delivered in school and the brown sections at home. There does not have to be a lockdown or class isolating at home to follow blended learning. It can be part of your everyday provision. So here is the foundation phase accelerating skills model. Firstly, in provision areas, observe and activate with resources, experiences that will activate a set of skills. Identify the skill, initiate, model, and direct strategies to perform the skill in the provision, both indoors and outdoors, at focused tasks. Then practice and apply skills taught and introduced in a variety of real-life, holistic learning experiences, contexts, promoting independence at enhanced and continuous provision. Then review the skill learned. Observe pupils in provision using holistic learning experiences, assess the skill, and plan the next steps, therefore reviewing and feeding forward. Flowing through all of the model is the role of the adult. The role of the adult in the case of accelerated learning is there to observe, record, assess and plan next steps, give clear direction teaching skills, model the behaviours and language used, have a clear understanding of the skills being taught, scaffold, support, prompt and clue children practicing those skills in the provision areas, support independent learning, and use effective questioning if suitable for the child. And also adults need to facilitate their interests and learning needs. So here is the example of the first model. This is for nursery and reception children. In the first column, we have the stages of the model. In the second column, there is guidance to support each stage of the model. And the third column, there are possible examples how to isolate skill development. And the fourth column, there is guidance for the adult. As you can see, the skill to be developed is counting to 5 or 10 within the possible context of the 3 billy goats gruff. There are a blend of approaches used to teach and practice the skill within cross-curricular learning experiences using different provision areas, indoors and outdoors. The first stage is to observe counting within a physical experience outdoors, where children are asked to build a bridge with large equipment whilst acting out the story and walking over the bridge, obviously making sure it is safe to do so. Children are asked to count their steps as they walk along the bridge. The practitioner can then assess their ability to count accurately and plan their next steps at focus task. Within the focus tasks, there are guidance materials available online and also a selection of songs and rhymes available to practice counting as part of your everyday provision for children to learn. Then there are opportunities to practice this skill in real-life context while building bridges in block and construction, playing games outdoors, counting collections of objects within the indoor and outdoor environment, or natural objects outdoors. At home, children could be playing hopscotch, building bridges with household objects, and counting the number of objects used, and taking part in fun activities such as the toilet roll tower challenge. The opportunity to assess these skills should be within everyday activities such as building towers in the block, counting hops, jumps whilst playing games, and counting objects within natural play in the provision. The Year 2 example uses more abstract experiences, developing the skill of extended writing using nouns, verbs, and adjectives. Throughout the model, within the activation experience, focus task, and review activity, there is need for a digital device with the ability to take photographs and then record voiceovers. Or you could use a digital app such as Seesaw, which would be ideal. The final activity could be combined with using Adobe Spark Video or the Strip Design app, POW, or Seesaw, which would work perfectly fine too. There are following activities in different provision areas, practicing and consolidating using verbs, nouns and adjectives, and developing extended sentence construction. There are opportunities for children to be creative, create superhero obstacle courses, create book covers, play games with their friends or members of their family, such as Give Us a Clue, and there are also revision videos available online to refresh their knowledge of the skills to be developed. Both models are fully adaptable to the provision that you have and are available on the GWER Support Centre.
So we've heard about the foundation phase and Key Stage 2 learning sequences. We will now have a look at where you can find them on the GWER Support Centre and move on to the second part of the Accelerated Learning Programme, the evidence reviews.
All of the Accelerated Skills exemplar models are stored within the new GWER Support Centre. You can access via the GWER Gogledd website by clicking on the GWER Support Centre link at the top of the homepage. Once inside the Support Centre, you will need to choose your preferred language. Within the GWER Support Centre, you will find all the resources that have been created during the COVID period. The homepage has a section for teaching and learning. You will need to click on this button, which will take you to the Accelerated Skills folder. Once in the Accelerated Skills folder, you'll find 3 sections. Examples of learning sequences, evidence reviews, and teaching and learning strategies. If you click on the examples of learning sequences, here you will find the exemplar models for Foundation Phase, Key Stage 2 Literacy and Key Stage 2 Numeracy. Here you can see that I've clicked on the Literacy Key Stage 2 exemplar models. Let's look now at evidence reviews. When you click on evidence reviews, you'll find that this resource consists of 4 databases that summarise the available evidence for a range of commonly used teaching programmes and/or interventions used in primary and secondary schools. The 4 evidence reviews are Behaviour and Wellbeing Programmes, Literacy Programmes, Numeracy Programmes, and Online Literacy and Numeracy Programmes. One of the main considerations when looking for interventions or programmes is whether they have an evidence base, either in the research literature or provided by the programme developers. The nature and quality of evidence varies significantly, from small pilot studies to randomised controlled trials. Some programmes lack any evidence of their impact. These 4 reviews provide a summary of the current evidence for a range of commonly used programmes and interventions. To help us structure the information in a more systematic and useful manner for schools, we have presented the findings around a series of key features. We have described these as primary and secondary inclusion criteria, and they represent important aspects to consider when evaluating different programmes and interventions. The information is presented in a searchable Excel spreadsheet. As well as information on efficacy, cost and training requirements, where possible, we have also added links to the provider and/or publisher who can offer further support. Each database can be easily filtered to search by either a specific programme and/or key stage. We hope that summarising these findings will provide educators with the information that they need to make more informed, evidence-based decisions to achieve the best impact on pupil outcomes. The final part is the teaching and learning strategy. These have been split into literacy and numeracy. Further guidance on these resources will be delivered in upcoming webinar sessions. Details will be shared via the GWER bulletin.
Okay, so the purpose of the evidence reviews is to give you evidence-based support and information should you be thinking about investing in a programme. We're not suggesting you stop using any current models, of course, but just giving you some guidance and easy to access information to help you inform you with your decisions.
So everybody, this brings us to the end of the webinar. Oh, there we are, all the way through without any mistakes nearly, and I made the first one. So if you have listening to the end of my webinar, if you have any questions, remember, get through to us on literacy and numeracy at gwergoblin.com. This session will be recorded, so it'll be loaded onto the GWER Support Centre. On Wednesday, we'll be going live with the same webinar for Welsh medium schools, and then next week we'll be having a webinar on the SAFMEDS section of the accelerating skills. So if you keep your eye on the GWER bulletin or on GWER Twitter, then you'll find the links that you need to bring you to the webinars. So thank you for joining us. We hope it's been informative. We hope you've even maybe enjoyed it. We certainly have. Thank you to my colleagues, Joanne, Manon and Catherine, and thank you to Hywel for making it run so smoothly. And we'll see you next time. Goodbye.